Welcome back to Everyday Heroes, a mini-series by HeroDevs where we explore the experiences of women in tech whose everyday effort builds bridges for others to follow. I'm your host, Wendy Hurst. The month of March in the United States is Women's History Month, and in this mini-series we're chatting with some women in tech who share their journey of how they got here and where they want to go. Today, we're chatting with Francesca Lio. Frankie is a senior delivery manager for consulting projects at HeroDevs. She joins us from New Jersey today. Welcome, Frankie.
Thanks for having me.
So how long have you worked in tech?
Yeah, I've been working in tech for about 5 years now. I've been at HeroDevs for just a little over a year. So still kind of new, but definitely getting more and more involved.
What did you do before you got into tech?
Yeah, so my background is kind of unique. So I actually went to college for psychology. And I really had this idea that I was going to be this child psychologist. I loved it. I just really liked working with people, helping people, things of the like. So fun thing about psychology is that you can't really do anything with a bachelor's degree in psych. So I always knew that I had to go back for my master's or a doctorate degree. And so I did that. I actually graduated college a year early and just started that process way before the curve to get it out of the way. And I loved it. But during my year in clinicals, I was starting to notice that I didn't think the field was really for me. It was just a lot of taking things home with you. The helping people part and getting, really involved in people's journeys was interesting and fun for me, but it was a difficult field to be in. So at that point in time, I actually took a job in healthcare marketing, and I really liked the business side of things. So, getting into the field of marketing, business strategy, etc. So once I finished my master's in psychology, I took another turn and I went back to school to get my master's in business admin, which is where I really kind of fell in love with the whole idea of getting involved in project management. So I studied for my MBA. I graduated, and at that point, I took a job in home textile manufacturing. And there I was really able to kind of pave the way for an interesting role. It was kind of a project management for digital marketing campaigns, as well as data analytics, which was really fun because I had kind of the creative side, but also, the more business strategy number side of things. And I really enjoyed that role. And it kind of opened the door into tech quite a bit because we were managing our marketing campaigns, looking at our numbers, things like that. So I finished school. I stayed there for a little bit. And then I really wanted to get into technology in a project management role. And it's definitely intimidating. I think at first I was nervous because I didn't really have a full tech background. I did have a Lean Six Sigma certification, and I felt like that might help me kind of break ground a little bit. But it was really intimidating getting into the technology industry. So funny story, I actually was in a sorority in college, and we have a Facebook alumni page where people can post like, oh, my company's hiring, or I need a babysitter, things like that. Mm-hmm. And someone had posted that they were hiring project managers at any level within the tech industry. So I took a chance and applied. And I think the biggest part of that was I really just needed somebody to take a chance on somebody with half-baked project management experience, but really had the drive to go full force. So I interviewed. My power went out during the interview. I got back on. And the hiring manager told me I had grit, and she hired me on the spot. And I work with her to this day. So it's an interesting journey, but it really goes to show that as long as you have that drive, you can really take any direction that you want.
What is your superpower?
I think that honestly, my background in working with people is my superpower in tech. And I think in general, you experience a lot of different personalities, clashing personalities that get, go along really well together, and just understanding the ins and outs of a person really helps in your day to day. It's made me very intuitive, I think, and it's helped me kind of grow as a project manager, as a teammate, and as a team lead. So I think that my superpower would be having that intuitiveness, around people, really helps me engage with others on my team, be more understanding, and also in talking to clients too. I think that's really helpful.
Where did you learn that skill?
I think it really does come from my background in all that studying of psychology. And I always said I feel like my educational history might have been a waste because I never landed where I thought I would. I think it's one of the most useful tools that I have in my tool belt. It's helped me significantly since I started in tech, even way before that. And even in my personal life, it just helps me, like I said, better understand people and work with them so that, we can all kind of achieve success.
How did you know that that was your superpower?
That's a really good question. I think it comes from the feeling I get when I log off of work, when I know that I've helped somebody get something across the line, or I've made a client happy, or I delivered difficult news, that we were kind of nervous about delivering. Just knowing that I was able to communicate that in a way that is not only clear, but also kind of just evens everything out. And then you end the day on a positive note. I think that just that feeling of helping people, making sure that everyone feels supported and getting that back. I feel like you know when your team trusts you, you know that your team can come to you. That's kind of how you know. And I know that's a little confusing and maybe out there, but I think that's really how I know that that's my strength. When you build those relationships and you maintain those relationships, you'll see that, okay, well, so-and-so can come to me and they've talked to me about this. They're letting me know how they feel about any particular thing on the project or in their personal life. When you have those relationships established, you know that you've successfully made somebody feel comfortable and at ease.
What would you suggest to someone who wants to get better at that skill?
Yeah, confidence is key. Coming into whether it's a new company, a new room, a room full of people, maybe people that, are at a higher level than you, that could be really scary and really intimidating. For me, moving to different companies and even coming here, initially you want to put your best foot forward. And I think that comes really easily when you have that confidence to just kind of put yourself out there, reach out to folks, let them know that, you're new there, establish those friendships and relationships. And I always said that, having friends at work is such a bizarre concept, but I feel like when you're in the right place, those friendships come very naturally. And having the confidence to reach out and build those relationships and establish those relationships is really what is going to put that best foot forward.
You said when you're in the right place. Do you feel like you're in the right place where you are now?
I do. I love it here. I think this is the first time I really felt through and through a part of a community where you can really be yourself. And I definitely have a more laid back, goofy, funny side. I think I'm funny. I don't know. But I feel like that's really accepted here. And there's really a space to be exactly who you are. While also building those professional relationships.
What is one piece of advice you would give to a big group of people?
Just to be open. I've noticed that, in tech, obviously it's it's more of a male dominated industry, coming from, healthcare, mental health care, really. In my experience, it's been a more female dominated industry. So that's a big shift. And there were definitely times where, I think that I was looked at differently because I was younger or I'm a female, where I wasn't as welcomed right off of the bat as I used to be. And that's a really hard wall to break through. And there's a sense that you have to prove yourself, as a leader or as even just as a project manager. Really just being open to people's not only skills and expertise, but also just them as a person, like personality wise, really getting to know someone for who they are. That's probably going to be the most important aspect to a person's performance. And I think, in tech, being that it is so male dominated, that's a tricky tricky wall to break through. I do think that I've gotten there, which is really nice.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the differences that you notice between the mental health care industry versus tech?
Sure. Yeah. I think in mental health, there's obviously a softness around it, right? You're caring for others. Others are being vulnerable with you and sharing some of the more intimate details about their life. In tech, I've always explained it or described it as more hardcore and fast paced. That's a very big difference. And there's definitely, like I said, an adjustment there. But it's very doable. And, breaking down that wall of, okay, there is a little bit of a hurdle here, or I really do have to prove myself. You will. And I hope that that's my story sets an example for younger women in the industry or who would like to break into the industry, that it's very doable. It's not about knowing the right people, it's finding the right people and finding that mentor or group of people who are going to help you overcome those hurdles and teach you all the right things so that you can be successful.
Find your people. That's great advice. All right. Tell me about a favorite project that you've worked on before.
Ooh, I've had a lot of really fun projects. Let's see. One project in particular, we work in consulting, so you're going to see a lot of different projects in different industries, different types of clients, different areas. One project I worked on, it was a really small team, actually. I think it was just me as a project manager and one developer, and we were working on an application for a university. And the client, I really think that the client made the project. Like it was just such an enjoyable experience. The client was more than willing to work with me as a requirements engineer and just sit down with me for hours. And it wouldn't just be business, right? Like we would go through everything we needed to go through, and then we sit and chat for a while. And I think being able to have that type of relationship with the client just helps your team be more successful. And on the flip side of that too, the development team of one or two was really enjoyable, and we were able to have the same kind of conversations and meetings and sit downs, business and fun. And I think that's what makes a really good project, is having kind of both sides of the fence there. I hope this my story and my journey coming into tech and keep moving forward does set a good example for others that really aim or strive to enter that field. It is fun and it is very fast moving, but there's always something to learn. And I love learning. I like to learn new skills. I like to learn new things. Even listening to the devs talk sometimes, like, oh, well, this sounds cool, I'm going to look into it a little bit. And you just learn something new every day. There's so much opportunity here, and I hope this story inspires somebody to take that leap. It really only takes one person to take a chance on you, and there's a lot of opportunity for that here.
Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. That was great getting to know you. Thanks for sharing your stories, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.